So we'll start with some balance. This is my right leg, catching the left leg. Shoulders reach down away from the ears. Hips shift back into the heels so you feel your lower back turn on. Your right leg is super duper straight. We can bend the leg and use that to help us balance. But for these next 30 minutes, well, the next 10 minutes, we're going to try to cook these legs. So focus on a point across the room and crush it with your attention. And start taking those long, voluminous inhales. If you haven't taken a class with me before, we say that we're inhale-centric. So we're not focusing too much on what the breath sounds like. We just want you to take the largest inhales possible, because throughout most of our day, we actually are holding our breath. So we're going to open up this left knee over to the left. So this is external rotation of the standing leg. See how far leftward you can go. Maybe you even get a cramp in that right gluteal. Now we're going to rotate around that standing leg. Left knee goes to the right for internal rotation. And then we're going to cycle back and forth. So playing with our balance here. Changing eyesight. Hopefully by now you can feel that right leg starting to heat up. Good. Now we're going to hinge forward and come onto blocks. Ooh. And if you come out of balance, make sure you laugh, because life's too short. So right now we're using these blocks as arm extenders, as you can see. And the reason why we do that is we don't want any slouching. So we want a nice strong back, sternum reaches forward, hands on the block. We're actually going to bend this right knee, and then we're going to start swinging that left leg. And you ask yourself, how do you keep the left leg straight when you're bending the right? That's actually a hip movement. So my left hip is cocked up a little bit. Weight is in the heels. And since it's early enough, this may be your first yoga class, you can go as slow as you want this morning with the leg swings. But make sure you're inhaling. Maybe play with, can you make one inhale last 3 leg swings? Good. On the upswing, we're going to bend the knee, bring the knee out to the side. So we're going to do some dog in a fire hydrant. So right knee bends if you straighten it, which I know you want to because it feels much easier. And then dog in a fire hydrant. So your left knee is trying to come up by your left shoulder. Good. Now we're going to set that left leg down. Right foot comes across the left knee to a figure 4 stretch. So you have most of the weight in your heel. You want to imagine you're trying to sit back into a chair. Notice the stretch you feel in that right hip. We're starting as a passive stretch, so you no need to tense up or do anything right now. Just take some inhales and feel the sensation that's probably going on in that right hip. If your heart rate's up from all those kicks, try slowing down your inhales, matching your inhales to your exhales. And now we're going to make this a little more active. So I want you to imagine I've got my hand on the outside of your right knee, and you're pressing your knee towards the back of your mat. So we super flex the right foot, toes are reaching back towards the knee, and you're pressing your knee back behind you. You're reaching that belly button towards the floor, sternum reaches up, so not turning on those spinal extensors. Good. And then we'll balance up or second side. You can roll out that right ankle. Find that a point across the room, crush it with your attention. Top of the head reaches up towards the ceiling, so you want to create length between your ears and your shoulders. So see if you can be taller than you've ever been, just right here. We're gonna open up this right knee to the right. So external rotation of the standing hip. See how far rightward you can get that knee. We're gonna open or twist back over to the left. So internal rotation of the standing hip. Right knee goes over to the left. And then we will pivot between those 2 points. Ooh. So twisting back and forth. Notice if one side is easier than the other. Everyone's got a preferred leg to balance on. Good. Awesome. And now we'll hinge forward into weather vane. So weather vane, now my left leg is bent. Right leg is gonna be straight. My arms are on arm extenders. You could also use a chair if you don't have blocks at home. We're slowly gonna kick that leg. Belly button reaches towards the floor, sternum, collarbone reaches forward. So in this style, we are focused on strengthening the back. We spend so much of our day slouching, whether it's in your kitchen chair or in the car, on the train. And so in this style, we do everything we can to balance out the back with the front. In the upswing position, we're gonna rebend that knee, and then we're gonna do our dog and fire hydrant. So right knee meets the left knee, and then reaches up towards the right shoulder. Reaching that belly button towards the floor. Hopefully you're feeling like Beyonce now. Yikes. Good. Right foot steps down. We cross the left ankle over the right knee for a figure 4 stretch. So belly button reaches towards the ground, sternum forward. Nice spinal extension here. We flex our toes back towards the shins and then just breathe. You've got a passive stretch, so there's no unnecessary tension in the body right now. We will make this more active in a few breaths. Toes flex back toward the knee, and now I want you to imagine I have my hand on the outside of your left knee, and you're trying to push your knee into my hand, so towards the back of your mat. So we're turning on the glutes and the muscles that we use to externally rotate the leg bone. So when you do that, you should feel a deeper stretch, even though to the camera, it doesn't look like you're doing anything more, but you should definitely feel a deeper stretch here. Take these last few inhales, make them deep, catch your breath here. Imagine you're sitting back into a chair. And we'll come down into a squat. And the way that I teach squats is you're gonna use a block in its second widest dimension. Your feet are super duper parallel. And the reason why we do that is so you can see the direction of your knees. I'm gonna face you guys. Sorry, I'm wearing all black. But so with your feet parallel, you can see what direction your knees are pointing out. And if your knees point in, like so, can't really see, here you go, like so, you can tear an ACL, and so we want to really protect that. So yeah, in this style, feet parallel, knees pointing to the pinky toe side. And so if you can't get your heels down in a squat, that's totally okay. Heels come up. If you've got pain in the knees, your squat can look like this, setting a block underneath your hips and have your toes in what we call toe torture. So wherever your squat is, just breathe here and see if you can make it a resting position. Nice long, slow, deep inhales. And we're just gonna do 10. So these are what we call quad burgers. So we're gonna start in the come up to about not fully bent knees, protect the hamstrings. Belly button is reaching towards the floor, shoulders down away from the ear. And we're gonna come back into our squat. So just for 10. See if you can make an inhale last for 5. So 2 long, slow, deep inhales. We'll call that 10. Step up, hands on the blocks, feet slightly wider than the mat, toes turn in, TikTok the hips. Maybe get a nice hip pop. Good. And same thing here. In a lot of yoga styles, they teach forward folds to be head towards the ground, looking towards the back of your mat. But this is just an upside down slouch. So even here, no matter if our feet are close together, wide, always fighting for that arch in the back, natural curve of the spine. All right, so let's come down into down dog. So down dog, the way we teach it, I like to have my pointer fingers on the edge of the mat and my 3 other fingers on the outside. So hands are a little bit wider, turned out, and then just play around here. Your shoulders reach down away from the ears. Again, you're not looking at your feet. You're looking at the front of the mat, fighting for that arch in the spine. TikTok the legs. Fix my hair for a second, stay here. Take some inhales. Notice what your body feels like in this position. See where you're tight. What's most sensational? Maybe you feel it in the wrist. You're not used to having this much body weight on your wrist. So I invite you to press your hands down, press your fingertips down, really active hands. Your shoulders kind of roll down the back. So they're not up by the ears, roll them down the back. And here we're gonna shift forward and back. So these little high plank push-ups, or down dog push-ups. So the whole time, reaching the belly button towards the floor, shifting forward till your shoulders get over the wrist. I want you to stay forward, kind of check out your alignment. Shoulders are over wrist, belly button reaches to the floor, hip shift up towards the ceiling. Take some inhales here. Shift back into down dog, pedal it out. Hopefully your shoulders are nice and warm. And then we'll come forward for a quad stretch. Or a hip flexor stretch. So right hand is going to come between the hands. If you've got a block, place the block under your left knee. We're going to shift forward. So you want to make sure your ankle is in front of your knee, like so. And you can use the other block, if you've got it, and stack that in front, basically where your left hand would go. Shift the hips forward. See if you can kind of relax in this position. Notice if you're tensing up anywhere, see if you can send your breath there. Now we're going to shift back, but instead of slouching like this, I want you to reach your belly button towards the floor. Even if you don't go back as far, you will definitely feel it in that right hamstring. We'll just shift back and forth, reaching that belly towards the ground, sternum forward. Hang out here in the front position. You can set your left hand down. If you want to go all the way around for a quad stretch, feel free. Grab that with that right arm, grab that left leg. Then shift the hips forward, allow your hips to sink towards the mat. Take some deep inhales. Send those inhales to that place where you feel it the most. Let go of that, right hand comes down, right foot steps back. I'm gonna shift the block over to the other knee and then place that right knee on the block. You can also place it on the mat. You don't necessarily need the block, of course, but add a little cushion. Then we're gonna shift forward. I'm gonna use my other block for my right hand. Make sure that ankle is forward of the knee. And then allow your hips to sink towards the ground. And shift the hips back, reaching that belly button towards the ground. Ooh, nice hamstring stretch. And pivot forward and backward. Move forward, let the hips sink one more time. I have my hand on here resting, but I'm not pressing into the knee. Good. If you want to go for that quad stretch, left hand reaches around, grabs that right foot, pulls the foot in gently towards the bottom. Twist towards that left side. Good. Move those blocks out of the way. Then we'll come down into reading pose. So knees come down, forearms come down, belly comes down. Tick-tock the neck here. And so this position we call reading pose, and if you have any pain in the spine due to long hours of sitting at a desk and or a kitchen table or herniated disc, this can bring a lot of relief. Super simple, low impact. So anybody can do it, even your grandma. But it's really great for the health of your spine. So elbows underneath the shoulders, shoulders down away from the ear. The tendency is to have your head forward looking at your belly because that's what feels normal. So I really want you to fight to keep the head up. Palms press into the ground, lift up the elbows 1 inch. We're gonna make this more active. So we're gonna try to pull ourselves forward like you're launching yourself off the front of the mat. Squeezing those elbows in. Tick-tock the neck here. And so if you didn't feel your spinal muscles before, now you should. They should be nice and hard. Good, relax out of that. Tick-tock the neck. While you're in this kind of passive state, see if you can sense where those muscles are in the back. If you're not used to doing this stuff, maybe you've never been present to your spinal extensors, but through this style especially, we're really focused on getting in tune with every muscle in your body, finding that balance point. So we're gonna do this again. Hands press into the ground, elbows lift 1 inch, and we're pulling ourselves forward. I want you to lift up the left leg. Ooh. Top the left leg, lift up the right leg. Still pulling, and now lift up both legs. Why have you stopped pulling? Holy smokes. And then we'll come down into best yoga pose ever. So hand stack, head faces. You can set your head down facing one way. Sometimes there's compression in the lower back, so the feet come up to the ceiling. Tick-tock the shins. Good. I'm gonna press back up into reading pose. Now we're gonna come over to the side. So you're rolling on your right side. Your bottom leg is gonna come forward. So your right quad is parallel with the front edge of the mat. Your left knee is gonna go in the arch of the right foot, and you're gonna spin back around into reading pose. So here you're in a spinal twist as well as extension. Excuse me. So if you want to go deeper, if you got a pretty good back bend or spinal mobility, you can walk the hands over to the right. And now I want you to take one giant voluminous inhale. And you may notice that that inhale is much more difficult and much more shallow than it is when you're upright. And that's because we're in a spinal twist extension and your diaphragm is not able to move as freely. So here is where you get really strong at inhaling, and we're going to work on strengthening the inhalation muscles. So we're going to start, and we're going to do that by taking 6-second inhales. And when you get to second 4, it may be that you can't suck in any more air, but I invite you to leave your throat open and just either hold the breath there or try to suck in just even a atom worth of air. And so when you get to the top, or you get to that 6 seconds, you may even be shaking from the effort, and that's where the strengthening happens, the growth happens. So we're going to do 3 of those together. So we're going to exhale out entirely, and then inhale for 6. And when you get to the top of your inhale, see if you can hold it for another couple more seconds, and then let it out like a sigh. 2 more times. Inhale for 6. And let it out like a sigh. As things begin to open up, you may walk your hands further to the right, so in a deeper back bend. Last time together. And let it out like a sigh. Your palms are going to come where your elbows used to be. You're going to look back over that right shoulder at your toes behind you. Feel nice lengthening in the left side. See if you can relax the abdominal muscles. Your hand is going to reach around so you're facing the back of the mat. Feet are mat width distance. Tuck the knees. We're going to roll to the opposite side. So left leg is down this time. So left quad is parallel with the short edge of the mat. Your hands come forward into reading pose. And then if you're able, you can walk your hands over to the left for a deeper stretch. You want to relax your belly towards the floor and really just kind of sink into this position. Notice what it feels like to be here, to breathe here. Notice what's tight. Are you feeling this in your shoulders, in your abdominals? Chances are, if you're a professional sitter and you've been doing so for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, the front line of your body is much stronger. And I'll go into that in another video. But so here we're trying to relax the belly and really work on our spinal mobility. So we're going to do those 3 6-second inhales together. And as you're ready, you can walk your hands over to the left for a deeper bend. So we'll exhale out together and then inhale for 6. Let it out like a sigh. Inhale for 6. Last time, inhale for 6. Take your hands, place them where your elbows used to be. Look over that left shoulder at your toes behind you. Relax the belly, see if you can get any more space, any deeper twist or back bend here. Wonderful. And since it looks like we've got some advanced practitioners, I'm going to cue a one back bend real quick, and then we will end class by laying over a block. So even if you can't do a back bend, I recommend you hang around because it's a really juicy little yoga pose. So your feet are about fingertip distance. The way we train back bends in this style, your hands are going to be a little bit wider. They're going to be, I like to have, again, my pointer finger off the edge of the mat hands slightly turned out, elbows reaching towards the ceiling, and then press up into your back bend. You can adjust your hands, making sure they're turned out. You want your shoulders down away from the ears, so kind of wrapping around the back like we talked about in down dog. You can shift forward and backwards. Work on straightening the legs, arms, squeezing those glutes. See if you can get them as high as possible. Last inhale here. And then come down. Shoot. Grab yourself a block. If you can, it might be easier to sit up. And so this is how I like to end all of my classes. And if I've been sitting a long time at the computer working, or when I was working in the corporate world, I did this daily. And so if you experience any back pain, or if you want to open up the chest, this is a really nice little postural reset. So we're going to put the block about a thumbs up distance behind the hips. So that's thumb touching your hips, the bottom of the thumb, or the bottom of the fist touching the block. And we're going to walk our hands back and slowly lay over the block. So you want to make sure your hips are on the block and your head's on the block. If you can't quite get your head down, you can use another block, a pillow, a rolled up blanket, something, but you want to make sure your head is on the floor. And then you just want to relax here. Start taking some big inhales. And then we'll just be here for a few moments. Notice if you're carrying any tension in your toes, ankles, fingers, wrists. See if you can let all of that go. Notice if you're feeling anything in the quads, hamstrings, hips, from any of the work we did today. Feel your ribs expand and contract with every inhale and exhale. And see if you can create any more space, any more lengthening with your inhales. Relax the shoulders into the ground, the arms. If you're furrowing your brow, clenching your jaw, see if you can relax all of that. Start to bring some movement in your ankles, your wrists. You can internally, externally rotate the legs. And we'll roll off to one side. And slowly push ourselves up. Tick top the head if you ever get dizzy in a yoga class, fitness class. Really good to tick top the head. We'll come up to standing. And so last little postural reset. This is wonderful if you spend most of your day sitting hunched over your computer. So this is what we call bad waiter. Hands come forward like you're carrying a dish. You're going to reach your elbows, or reach your thumbs apart, and then reach your elbows forward. And then you want to imagine you're carrying a bowl of soup in each hand, and you're pouring it out the hard way. And so this is essentially the anti-slouch if you just hold this position. So this is what a slouch looks like. This is how we spend most of our days. Spinal flexion, internally rotating the shoulders, shoulders by the ears. And so this is essentially the exact opposite. Your hips shift over your heels, so you're in a nice back bend, nice openness in the shoulders. We're shortening the back of the shoulders, so if you've experienced any shoulder discomfort, chances are it's because you're over lengthening. So this is a way to shorten the back of the shoulders, open up the front, put yourself in a mini back bend, and you can do this 1,000 times a day.